They haven't connected this woman to Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. In fact, the Pima County Sheriff's Office confirmed to our team today the cases are not related. We're talking about this case because good investigations don't just look at the evidence. They look at the people, the patterns, the local criminal activity surrounding a case. Does Smith have any information about Nancy? Does her case provide investigators any answers or clues or leads as to what happened to Nancy?
What if the person who walked up to Nancy Guthrie's door thought he had erased himself before anyone could ever see his face? What if he planned for the cameras, the Wi-Fi, the neighbors, the angles, and the darkness, but missed one quiet piece of technology that he did not understand? Because that is the strange thing about this case. Whoever came to that door appeared to be careful. He did not move like someone who had wandered into the wrong place. He did not look like a man acting on a sudden impulse, with no thought about what could catch him.
Something about this case refuses to let go. Even now, long after Nancy Guthrie vanished, investigators, analysts, and members of the public continue returning to the same haunting question: what really happened at her front door that night? The deeper people look into the available evidence, the more the case seems to reveal layers that were not obvious at first glance. What began as a missing person investigation has evolved into a complex examination of technology, planning, digital evidence, and the possibility that someone believed they could outsmart both cameras and investigators. Before we go any further, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so you can receive first-hand updates on this story and others as new developments emerge. One of the strongest impressions investigators have discussed is the behavior of the individual captured near Nancy Guthrie's home. From the moment footage became part of the public conversation, many observers noticed that the person did not appear confused, lost, or uncertain. Instead, he appeared purposeful. His movements suggested direction. His presence suggested intent. He did not seem like someone wandering through a neighborhood at random. He looked like someone who had arrived with a reason for being there. That distinction matters because investigators often study behavior just as closely as physical evidence. How a person moves can reveal important clues about what they know, what they expect, and what they are trying to accomplish. Someone acting impulsively often behaves differently from someone operating according to a plan. A spontaneous crime and a planned crime rarely look the same when examined carefully. In this case, the individual approached the property in a manner that many analysts believe reflected preparation. There was no obvious hesitation. There was no visible sign that he was searching for an address or trying to determine where he was. Instead, his actions suggested familiarity with the location or confidence about what he intended to do once he arrived. That observation becomes even more significant when viewed alongside another unusual element of the investigation: missing camera footage from the surrounding area. One of the most discussed aspects of the case involves reports that certain cameras in the neighborhood were unable to provide footage during a critical time period. In ordinary circumstances, missing footage might not attract much attention. Internet connections fail. Power outages happen. Technology glitches occur every day. But when a disappearance takes place during the same period that cameras experience problems, investigators naturally begin asking difficult questions. Reports indicated that some nearby internet-connected devices experienced disruptions around the time Nancy disappeared. That immediately raised concerns about whether the missing footage was simply bad luck or something more deliberate. Investigators have examined the possibility that signal interference may have played a role. It is important to emphasize that authorities have never publicly confirmed that a signal jammer was used. That remains one of the most important distinctions in this case. There is a difference between a theory, an investigative avenue, and a confirmed fact. Responsible investigators understand that difference and follow evidence rather than assumptions. Still, the possibility has drawn significant attention because of what it could mean if proven true. Modern security cameras often depend heavily on wireless internet connections. People tend to think of cameras as constantly recording devices, but many systems rely on connectivity to upload footage, store recordings, and provide access through apps. If that connection is interrupted at the right moment, important footage may never reach its intended destination. For investigators, the timing of those reported disruptions makes the issue impossible to ignore. Even if the interruptions ultimately turn out to have an innocent explanation, they remain a critical piece of the puzzle because they occurred during a period that could contain valuable information about Nancy's disappearance. The discussion becomes even more intriguing because some footage reportedly survived despite those challenges. According to information discussed publicly, investigators were eventually able to recover imagery that many believed might have been lost. That development dramatically changed the direction of the case. Instead of having no visual evidence, investigators suddenly had an image that could be studied, analyzed, and shared with the public. That recovery is significant because it highlights an important reality about modern technology. Many people assume that once a file disappears from view, it is gone forever. In reality, digital systems often contain layers that ordinary users never see. Metadata, server records, cached information, synchronization attempts, and back-end processes can sometimes preserve information long after someone believes it has vanished. If someone intentionally tried to avoid being recorded, the existence of recovered footage could represent a major mistake. Investigators and technology experts understand that digital evidence often survives in unexpected places. A person may focus on defeating the visible part of a system while overlooking how information moves behind the scenes. That possibility has become one of the most fascinating aspects of the case because it suggests that technology itself may have preserved clues someone believed were erased. When the recovered image became public, attention immediately focused on several visible details. The face drew obvious interest. People naturally look for recognizable features when attempting to identify someone. But investigators often pay close attention to smaller details as well. In this case, observers noted facial characteristics, distinctive eyebrows, facial hair, body build, and a pinky ring visible on one hand. At first glance, a ring may seem insignificant. Yet experienced investigators know that personal items can become powerful identifying markers. Jewelry often remains part of a person's daily appearance for years. Friends notice it. Family members recognize it. Coworkers become familiar with it. A detail that seems ordinary to one person may immediately stand out to someone who knows the individual being sought. The same principle applies to facial features. While a person can change clothing or alter hairstyles, certain characteristics often remain recognizable. Publicly released images frequently generate useful tips not because they provide perfect clarity but because they trigger memories. The image also revealed another detail that sparked widespread discussion: an object visible in the individual's pocket. That object quickly became one of the most debated elements of the footage. Some viewers believed it was nothing more than a phone. Others questioned whether it might be something different. Former investigators and analysts began offering opinions based on the visible shape and position of the item. Among the theories raised publicly was the possibility that the object resembled a handheld radio. That suggestion immediately expanded the scope of the discussion. A phone and a radio serve very different purposes. A phone is an everyday device carried by millions of people. A radio, however, raises additional questions. Radios are often associated with direct communication between individuals operating within a certain range. If the object were a radio, investigators would naturally ask who might have been communicating with the person carrying it. That question introduces another possibility that continues to attract attention: the possibility that more than one person may have been involved. To be clear, authorities have not publicly confirmed the existence of an accomplice. However, investigators routinely explore all reasonable possibilities, especially in cases involving apparent planning. If communication equipment was present, determining whether another individual was nearby becomes an important line of inquiry. The involvement of multiple people can dramatically change an investigation. Every additional participant creates additional records, relationships, timelines, and opportunities for mistakes. One person may remain silent. Two people create twice as many chances for information to surface. Three people create even more. That is why investigators often examine social connections, communication records, travel patterns, and personal relationships when pursuing complex cases. The answer may not exist solely within the footage itself. Sometimes the key lies in understanding the network surrounding the individual in the image. Another aspect that has received significant attention is the person's choice to approach the front door. Former investigators have pointed out that the behavior did not immediately resemble a straightforward forced entry attempt. There were no obvious tools visible. There was no clear indication of someone preparing to break through a barrier. Instead, the approach appeared confident. That confidence raises important questions. Did the individual expect the door to open? Did he believe he had a reason to be there? Did he possess information that made him comfortable approaching the most visible entrance to the property? Those questions remain unanswered, but they are precisely the types of questions investigators must consider. Understanding what a suspect expected can sometimes reveal just as much as understanding what happened. As the investigation continues, authorities remain focused on every available source of information. Technology records, communication data, purchase histories, witness statements, public tips, and digital evidence all remain potential sources of answers. Modern investigations are rarely built on a single clue. Instead, they are constructed piece by piece. A face may lead to a name. A ring may support an identification. A device may reveal a purchase record. A communication trail may uncover another person. A witness may remember a conversation. A digital record may connect previously unrelated information. Every piece matters because every piece has the potential to connect to something larger. What makes this case particularly compelling is that so many questions remain open. Investigators continue pulling on multiple threads simultaneously, attempting to determine which ones lead closer to the truth. The recovered footage, the reported disruptions, the visible ring, the mysterious object, and the behavior of the individual all remain subjects of careful examination. Yet amid discussions of technology, cameras, digital systems, and investigative techniques, one fact should never be forgotten. At the center of this story is Nancy Guthrie. A family continues waiting for answers. Loved ones continue living with uncertainty. Every investigative lead matters because it may help explain what happened and bring accountability to whoever is responsible. That is why the smallest details continue receiving such intense scrutiny. A ring may matter. A device may matter. A recovered image may matter. A forgotten record may matter. A tip from the public may matter. Sometimes major breakthroughs emerge from seemingly insignificant observations. Sometimes the smallest clue becomes the thread that unravels an entire mystery. For now, investigators continue following every lead available to them. The footage remains public. The questions remain active. The search for answers continues. And if the person who appeared at Nancy Guthrie's door believed the darkness had hidden everything, investigators are working to determine whether one surviving image may ultimately prove otherwise.